Result of that. This man, well, Enea Bastianini, I would say, Matt, across the three classes that we've got for you in 2018, he has probably got the biggest shoes to fill of any rider coming into a season.
Yeah, I think they're size 15s he's trying to fill there, Steve. Yeah, massive pressure on Enea Bastianini. Of course, he's under the microscope big time this year. Juan Mir leaving the Leopard Honda team. Nobody won more races in 2017 than Juan Mir. Moved up to Moto2, of course. So I quite like Enea Bastianini. He's embracing that challenge. It's a great opportunity for him. Let's not forget, Steve, this is the team that's won 2 of the last 3 Moto3 World Championships with Danny Kent in 2015. Juan Mir cruised it last year so brilliantly. So yeah, there's a lot of pressure on Enea Bastianini's shoulders. He'll be looking to strike this year, but as you rightly say, Steve, there is so much competition. This one on your screens now, Fabio Di Gianantonio, his 3rd year in the World Championship. He'll be looking to come on strong. And with Mir and Fanati gone up to Moto2, well, opportunity knocks one of these guys. You've got to say, Steve, probably on paper, Jorge Martin and Aaron Canet, the 2 Spaniards, probably going into this year are the pre-season favourites, but there are a dozen other guys that you can name who are going to be right there at the sharp end.
Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. The man on your screen there, Jorge Martin, does look to be the bookies' favourite coming into this season. Now, we were itching to get going for this season, and somebody else that was itching to get going for 2018 was in the hire car with us this morning, like a kid at Christmas, was Amy Dargan. And let's just make sure that all of our technical situations are working. Amy, can you hear us?
Hi guys, I can, and you're not wrong. I am extremely excited to be back. I'm itching to go and get to talking to some of our Moto3 riders, so I will be back with you when I've pinned one down.
Thanks for that, Amy Dargan. Then, as we'll be getting a word with a few riders. Of course, there will be some riders in new colours. This man on your screen in particular, Darren Binder. What an opportunity, Matt, for Darren Binder, who last year was teamed up with Marcos Ramirez. Did a really good job until that injury. When he came back, he was a bit rusty, but what a ride he's landed. Aki Ajo likes the Binders, and he signed another.
He does. We talked about opportunity knocking for a few riders this year, Steve. Well, boy, that certainly applies to Darren Binder. Yeah, that broken thumb he suffered in the summer break last year, Steve, it completely wrecked the second half of last year from, I think he missed 4 races, and then when he came back, he wasn't the rider he was before the summer break. He was really struggling, not up to 100% fitness. So yeah, Darren Binder, what a great chance for him. Like you say, Steve, big shoes to fill there as well. Brad Binder, of course, 2 years ago, dominating the Moto3 World Championship. It's a one-rider team as well this year, isn't it? Red Bull, KTM have gone down to just the one rider, so at least all their efforts are going to be focused exclusively on Darren Binder. We know that Aki Ajo is brilliant at spotting talent, so yeah, great opportunity for him.
We should just point out, of course, that unlike previous years as well, we've not got necessarily one factory team, Matt, in Moto3 for KTM. So whilst Darren Binder is in Red Bull colours, it's not necessarily the factory KTM team in Moto3.
Yeah, there's been that kind of myth, hasn't there, that the Red Bull KTM team is the factory team. It's not possible to have a factory team in the Moto3 World Championship, because if you bring an update for Darren Binder, if KTM bring an update, whether it be a swing arm, a chassis, you have got to make that available to all the other riders that are representing KTM. So yeah, it's a bit of a myth about the fact that it's a factory team, but there's no doubt about it. In terms of priority, a career path, the Red Bull KTM team, of course, now with Binder and Oliveira in Moto2. There's going to be 4 KTMs on the grid in MotoGP next year, of course. The big pre-season news that Tech 3 Yamaha splitting from Yamaha at the end of this season. So there is a clear career path in that Red Bull system, going all the way actually outside of the World Championship, of course, with the Red Bull rookies. It's a great operation that KTM have got now with Red Bull.
Yeah, and speaking of Red Bull rookies, you're seeing on your screen here Ayumu Sasaki. We'll talk more about him in a moment, but we'll just jump down to Amy. Have you got someone, Amy?
I have indeed. You guys are talking about Darren Binder, so I thought it was only right to go and grab a word from the man himself and find out how he's feeling ahead of this first Grand Prix, and really how's everything been feeling in Aki Ajo's team. You are the main guy. All attention is on you. Has that really made a difference with your progress over winter?
Yeah, unfortunately, the preseason testing hasn't been that great. I mean, the weather's been horrible. We haven't had that much track time. But yeah, no, I'm really enjoying the team. I mean, I'm starting to feel a lot better on the bike. I struggled in the beginning quite a lot, coming off being injured at the end of last year and not being able to ride at the end of last year. So yeah, I'm starting to feel much better. The bike is a little bit different from last year, and I'm still trying to find a perfect setup, but I'm really looking forward to coming into a race weekend now. You know, testing, there's so much time with the hour sessions and that, and now finally when we have the shorter sessions and only four sessions before Sunday, you know, so I'm looking forward to just getting out there and getting to the race.
Where is the 2018 KTM different, or the main areas?
The frame's a little bit different, and yeah, that means the frame being different, the setup has to change, you know, you can't use the same setup from last year. But also just moving teams in that, you need to learn to understand the people and learn how they work in that, so yeah, it's been good.
But unlike most people, you're probably going to get fed up of being reminded of this year. But you obviously have moved into the team that your brother was very successful in. He won that Moto3 World title a couple of years ago. Has it been a good point of reference for you, where you've said, hey, did that happen with you? Have you been able to go back and forth with that with Brad?
Yeah, no, I mean, going into that team, I know that they're definitely capable of doing great things. And also with my brother being through it, then I can go to him, and he's always there trying to help me as much as he can. And yeah, I mean, my brother's been involved in the tests, trying to help me to see what's going wrong in that with the team. And no, I mean, it's a good thing to have him around. And I think we're going to start making steps forward pretty soon, hopefully.
Great to see you.
Thank you. Cheers.
Thanks to Amy there and to Darren Binder. Yeah, really interesting season it's going to be for Darren. And one of many riders, as Matt rightly pointed out at the start, who could potentially be race winners. There's going to be some question marks over a few heads coming into this season. There's one over this man's head, Matt, Gabriel Rodrigo. Flattered to deceive, I think, is probably the way to sum up his season in 2017. Riddled with crashes and injuries. At times he shows glimpses of magic where he's able to obviously qualify well. Qualifying in particular was one of his particular strong points, but only 7 races in the points in 2017, and that is going to have to improve coming into this year.
Yeah, absolutely. The one word I associate with Gabriel Rodrigo, Steve, coming into this campaign is consistency. On his day, that guy is one of the fastest riders out there, no doubt about it, make no mistake, as we look at one of the rookies, Alonso Lopez, who will be joining Aaron Canet in the Estrella Galicia team, just giving somebody a friendly kick up the backside there on the grid as well. Was it Jorge Martin? If you can get that close to Jorge Martin on Sunday night, I'll be doing pretty well. But yeah, Rodrigo has got a lot of talent, but he just needs to find a way, Steve, of seeing the checkered flag on a more regular basis, because that's definitely his weak point.
Alonso Lopez there. I tell you what, a bit of a dead ringer for Joan Mir, actually. He looks very much like the Moto3 world champion. He comes in to join Aaron Canet in that Estrella Galicia team, who's currently stood just at the front there, looking to find out where exactly he's got to sit. And Aaron Canet himself, Matt, let's move on to the Spanish rider, the 18-year-old who last year was in contention for a while. This is sort of big year 3, isn't it, for him at a top team? But it just seemed to fade away from him at the end of the year. Yeah,
absolutely, Steve. I mean, he had that great win at Silverstone, and then after that, the cupboard was dry. He didn't win again in the final 6 rounds of the year. He definitely needs to up that winning average. When you look at what it took over the last 2 years, you know, Brad Binder was phenomenal, won almost, you know, double-figure races. Joan Mir was absolutely incredible last year, 11 race wins. I mean, they were figures that we haven't seen for 20 years, going back to the Valentino Rossi era in 125. So Canet, for me, has just got to up that winning average a little bit and show a little bit more consistency himself. He does have a tendency to make mistakes when the pressure's on. Just as he gets himself back in the championship contention, he takes 1 step forward and then 2 steps back sometimes. We come back to that key word, consistency. Certainly over a 19-round World Championship campaign, Steve, this is the longest World Championship in the history of our sport. And stringing those numbers together over that number of races is going to be absolutely crucial.
It certainly is. You're just seeing a glimpse there of some riders in some new colours for this year. Just to remind you, of course, we do have a slightly different schedule, and that may well play a part in terms of setup in previous years, because we can see that it is sunny at the moment. These guys are going to be going out for a free practice 1 tomorrow at 10 to 1 local time, Matt. And that's something, of course, that we've not seen here in Qatar for a number of years.
Yeah, well, we've had the night race here, haven't we, since 2008, and that has included, at the time, the lightweight category, which would have been 125s. Yeah, these guys, the Moto3 guys this year, are doing all of their riding exclusively in the daytime. So a completely set of circumstances they're having to deal with, Steve. The key thing, of course, is going to be temperature, track temperature. It's, like you say, 32 degrees out there right now. It does cool down quite a lot once the sun has come down. So in terms of bike setup, tyre life, with that extra temperature, it's going to be a completely different challenge facing these guys this weekend.
Well, guys, whilst the Moto3 riders are putting their best faces forward on the grid, I thought I'd catch up with one of our crew chiefs down here, watching on as his man, Ayumu Sasaki. I am with Mark Woodage. Mark, it's Ayumu's second year in the Moto3 class. Obviously, rookie season, they've got a lot to learn, mainly a lot of the circuits as well, and obviously find themselves getting happier with their base setup. How much progress would you say Ayumu's made over the winter?
Yeah, I mean, this winter Ayuma's gone back to Japan. His fitness is better than ever. He's lost weight. Ayuma himself is really sharp. And obviously with what we've learned with Ayuma last year, and we've took the data this winter and we've worked on his weakness, I think we're in a lot better shape this year. Not only him as a rider, but us as a team for him, you know. So,
what would you say was the main thing he needed to work on?
His fitness was good, but he suffered a little bit towards the end of the race, and he was lacking a little bit of confidence with the front of the bike towards the end of the race. He weren't able to pass other riders in a race. He could follow a group but not pass and get to the front of a group. So this year we've worked on completely changing the bike to strengthen him on the brakes and to make the tyres last, and this seems to be really good. We tested it in Sepang this winter and we seem to have found something that's working really good now, so I think we're all pretty confident really.
Exciting stuff, and you mentioned his fitness there, and that's definitely not lacking. I saw a rather interesting video of Ayumu's where he did this kind of roll onto a press up and all sorts of crazy things. He's nuts.
Yeah, he is a crazy boy, isn't he? But yeah, he spent the last week in Austria at the Red Bull fitness camp, and he passed everything they wanted him to pass there with like flying colours. So I think what he's done this winter, he couldn't have done any more. So he's ready, you know.
Thanks, Mark. Best of luck.
No problem.
Thanks to Mark Woodage there, speaking to Amy. Amy, just so you know as well, we're struggling to hear when you're coming in, so just butt in at any point, as you would do in the hire car.
Thank you very much, boys. Will do.
So, Moto3 grid then, ready.
That's Steve Day walking home back to the hotel
sorry,
tonight.
Amy, that's a 1-0. That's a real low blow. I really apologise for that. Here are your riders then for 2018. You can see just in the bottom right corner, CIP, new colours, green power, John McPhee. Changing teams over to KTM. Alberto Arenas there, just next to the smiling Andrea Migno, and Marcos Ramirez, who stays put in the same team, but a slightly different name to the team. Big year for Marcos Ramirez. Impressive last year, Matt, the 20-year-old. Their team, Besta Capital Dubai KTM this year. There was a lot of people after his signature.
Yeah, there was. I mean, he was heavily linked, wasn't he, to Leopard Honda before they took Lorenzo Dalla Porta, which at the time was quite a surprise move. Ramirez then staying with that best Capital Dubai KTM squad. Of course, he had a lot of momentum going into the winter. That podium last time out, the last race of the season in 2017 in Valencia, that would have given him a big lift because he'd struggled in the races prior to that somewhat.
Just looking at the smiles there, the excitement growing as we get ready for this brand new season. Bottom left then, the new Leopard riders, Lorenzo Dalla Porta and Enea Bastianini. Dalla Porta, well, what can we say, Matt? Not always easy to work out how some riders land big rides. Either way, this is like winning the lottery for Lorenzo Dalla Porta. Going into a World Championship winning setup, I suppose the question is, with Lorenzo Dalla Porta, can the junior world champion of 2016 finally live up to the expectations?
Well, he's got the pace, hasn't he? As Aaron Canet almost has the first crash of the year there, almost stumbling over the 2018 FIA MotoGP World Championship sign. He just about saved that front end washout there, did Canet?
Well, guys, I managed to grab a word with Gino Borsoy. Obviously, he's going to be keeping a close eye on his two men this year, Andrea Migno and also Albert Arenas. Andrea Migno, Gino, it's his first year outside of the Sky VR46 team. He is with you guys. Do you think a change is really going to do him good?
Well, honestly, we are quite happy now about the performance of Andrea Migno because we did only just few tests, IRTA tests, but from the start of the test, I understand immediately he have a potential to be, let's say, on the top 5 every race. So we'll see. For us, it's the first season with KTM. We need to understand the bike, improve the setup of the bike for our rider. But honestly, we are really happy about the performance of the bike and the connection between us and KTM. So, well, will be not easy, of course, because a lot of riders have a KTM and fast bike as Honda. But in our hand, we have a good potential from the rider and bike, so we are ready for fighting.
And just a word on Albert Arenas. Obviously, last year he had a lot of it, but he had quite a tough time because he was injured quite a lot of it. How's his fitness doing coming into 2018?
Well, from the beginning, Arena said that the bike is a step compared to Mahindra of last season. Maybe he need a bit more time compared to Minho, because Minho know the bike from last season. He know more or less how the bike works, and for us, even for Albert, we need a bit more time to understand bike and the rider. But in a few races, I think we will find a way to be hopefully in the top 5.
Thanks, Gino. Well, we hope to see that too, and we might come and have a word with you later on and talk to you about your MotoGP boys as well. All right, thank you.
Okay, thank you, bye.
Gino Bolsoy there talking to Amy Dargan. Thanks for that, Amy. You're looking at the Sky VR46 camp here. Matt, a couple of names there that we were expecting to see go well. Marco Bezzecchi on the far left has been particularly impressive in pre-season testing, but the man I have to talk about when we look at that shot is Nicolo Bulega, the curious case of Nicolo Bulega, if you're looking back at this 2017 season, which was hugely disappointing.
It was well below expectations, wasn't it, Steve? 12th in the World Championship at the end of the season in Valencia was Nicolo Bulega. How many times did we say it last year as well, Steve? Qualifying really wasn't his issue. He could not get that bike off the line on a full fuel tank in those first 2 or 3 laps when you've got to be so super aggressive in Moto 3, otherwise you get dropped by the pack. He was getting eaten alive, Nicolo Bulega. Hopefully, I'm sure that's been something he's worked on throughout the winter testing, has been his starts, because qualifying was not such a major issue for him. But this is a big year for Bulega. He's got to deliver, because there's a lot of expectation. He was seen as the next big star coming out of the VR46 Academy. Valentino Rossi mentioning him very highly. And you've got to say, last year, he didn't really cut it.
No, he didn't. Just next to him, his new teammate, Dennis Foggia. Now, look out for him. Absolute lightning. Junior world champion of last year. And in every single race he attended last season, Matt, he looked brilliant.
He's not shy, is he? No. That's why we labelled him Dennis the Menace. I think we're going to see a lot of that young man this year. I remember, was it in Aragon when he wildcarded? He was absolutely brilliant. He did not care one bit for established reputations in this Moto 3 World Championship. He was not scared to show a bit of that black paint, was he, last year, Foggia? And I think we could see him potentially as a podium dark horse on more than one occasion this year.
Yeah, agree with that. Just saw in that picture as well of the group of the VR46 Academy riders. We have to mention Nico Antonelli. Probably the worst season of his career so far last year, and that's really amazing to say based on what happened at the end of the previous season. But the 22-year-old comes into this as one of the most experienced riders. Less pressure, though, surely now on his shoulders in a far more sort of family-orientated team as he moves over to the 658 Squadra Course Honda.
I really hope that's a move that galvanised him, Steve, because it was, like you say, an atrocious year for Nicolo Antonelli. You don't lose the talent, but he was just completely robbed of any confidence last year. Did not get on at all with the Red Bull KTM. It was an awful year. You know, he only scored points in 5 Grand Prix last year. I mean, for a rider of his calibre, that is an absolutely shocking return.
Of the rookies that are coming into the championship, we mentioned Alonso Lopez, who comes in to join Aaron Canet. We've also got Kazuki Masaki, who's taken the place of Juan Fran Guevara, who's decided to retire. As we're just seeing here some shots earlier from the Asia Talent Cup. They were on the grid a little while ago. And former Asia Talent Cup champion and Red Bull rookie champion Ayumu Sasaki there as well. But going back to the current Red Bull rookie champion, you can just see him there in the yellow, Kazuki Masaki. What do you think of his chances coming into this season, man?
Well, he had that wild card in Valencia last year, Steve, didn't he? And he was absolutely sensational. Finished that Grand Prix debut in 10th place. He wasn't overawed. It was a big occasion for him, and he showed what he can do. And I've got to say, you know, he came into that team very late. The RBA Racing team did not sign him until late January, so he's not exactly had the ideal preparations. I think it's quite hard, actually, Steve, to sort of really make a clear judgment, a clear assessment of where we're at in terms of Moto 2 and Moto 3 this year, because their winter testing campaign has been so badly affected by the weather, a couple of tests in Jerez and Valencia. So it's really hard to judge exactly where we're at with these guys right now.
Just saw there the Honda Team Asia team. They stay together. Nakarina Turapuvapat, who was really strong, actually. I was most impressed with the Thai rider throughout most of last year. I think it's fair to say that Kaito Toba, next to him, the 17-year-old, has been given another go here. But it would have been easy to say that he might not have deserved it based on some of the results.
Well, put pure and simply, Toba spent too much time on the floor. He crashed way too much, which you can excuse a rookie. Of course, it's a difficult transition to come into the World Championship. And Nakarana Pupapat will always be on his CV no matter what happens for the rest of his career. He was the first Thai rider to score points in a World Championship, and of course What a year for him. MotoGP going to Thailand in early October to the Buriram circuit. There's already, I mean, we were there very recently for the pre-season MotoGP test. 30,000 fans came on the final day just for a test. Completely unheard of. It's going to be pandemonium when we go back in October for the race. So big year for Atarat Puvapat, and I think actually his performances last year fully justified another crack this year.
Let's pop down to Amy. It looks like in pit lane she's trying to grab a word with, is that Jorge Martin?
I am, guys, and he is rushing to get back into another photo opportunity for Arrow, but we're going to have one quick word with him before he gets in place. Jorge, how does it feel coming into this season as hot favourite?
Yeah, everybody talking about the title. Well, this is it's not a thing that I'm obsessed with, but yeah, really feeling great,